Today on Big Red's Cooking, seasoning and maintaining your cast iron pan. Hi, and welcome to Big Red's Cooking. I'm Darcy, aka Big Red, and I'm glad that you're back. I hope you've been enjoying my videos, and I've got what I think is another good video here. So I've actually just finished cleaning up my breakfast dishes. I had myself some scrambled eggs and bacon. It's Saturday morning. Why not? And I actually get asked a lot of questions about cleaning and maintaining cast iron pans. I've had a lot of people talk to me about how they wish they knew how to do it, and they just sort of have these cast iron pans tucked away in the corner and things like that, and they never use them. Which is too bad, really, because cast iron is a wonderful surface for cooking on, especially if you take that time to get it properly seasoned and maintained. And once it's been properly seasoned and maintained, it's very easy to take care of, and you'll last you a lifetime. I actually have cast iron pans that are over 100 years old that I picked up in pawn shops and things like that through the years, and I've got a pretty extensive cast iron selection, as you can see, and this is not even all of them. I've actually got a whole bunch more downstairs. I just don't have the space for it all in this kitchen. So I have the ones that I most commonly use here. So it's actually not too difficult. There are a few little tips and tricks that I'm going to show you. And if you do this on a regular basis, your cast iron will be really simple, really easy. You know, it's a wonderful surface to cook on. So you can see I've got one right here. This is the one I cooked my scrambled eggs in. It's not too bad. That's going to be a really quick, simple one to clean up. And then I've got this one here. It's a little bit more grease laden. There's some stuff stuck on. That's the one that I cooked my bacon in. All right. But at the end of the day, you're going to see that both of these clean up really well, and they're going to be very easy to take care of. All right, so why don't we jump down to our sink, and we'll pick up there. Alright, so we're at our sink here now. We've got our cast iron pans. Now the water is a little bit mucky, but that's okay, because really we don't need great water for dealing with our pans. And ideally we don't want water that's too soapy. Now, if you're like me, I grew up hearing soap was the absolute worst thing for cast iron. But you know what, we live, we learn, and I've learned a lot through the years, and I don't mind admitting when I've learned something new and changing the way I do things because I learned something. So one thing that I did discover is that when we're properly seasoning a cast iron pan, that oil afterwards is no longer oil. What we're actually going to do, our final stage is going to be over on the stove, and we're going to get that pan really nice and hot, actually at about 500 degrees Fahrenheit. And when that happens, the oil that's in the pan actually chemically changes and becomes a polymer. Basically, it becomes a plastic, and that's why our cast iron surfaces become such a nice smooth surface and no stick. Now this is edible. We're just going to use vegetable oil in our final stage. But you know, a little bit of soapy water is okay, because it's going to help to get rid of some of the grease that we don't want in our pans before we move on over to our stove for our final stage. Now, there's a lot of grease in this pan, and I don't need to get all that into my dishwater, where it's going to end up down my drain. And why waste it, to be honest? I could use this for cooking in, or I've got 2 huskies, and they love when I melt that fat and pour that over their kibble for them, which, I don't know, maybe I'll do that this evening. Alright, so I'm just going to grab a rubber spatula here and sort of scrape out most of that oil, that congealed fat, and just put that in there. And like I say, that's going to prevent that, you know, potential for clogs in my sink and things. We'll just set that aside. You can see we've got most of the fat out of our pan here now. So what I love to use, and you can find these sort of pretty much everywhere, these green scrubbies. They're actually made out of plastic, so it means they're not going to scratch our surface and things like that. Because really what we're doing, and over time we're going to be building a layer of polymer on there, as I said. You know, and the longer we do this and the better we season our pans, the less likely they are to have any problems with them in the future. So I'm just going to give this a quick wipe, and you'll notice these eggs are just not sticking at all. All right? And you can see how easy that egg wipes out. I'm just going to give that a quick rinse. And you'll notice if you look, you can actually see the water beading on that surface. That's because I've got a really good seasoning built up on that pan. And I'm just going to shift that over to the top of the stove for a moment. Now this one here, this one's going to take a little bit more work, but you'll watch and you'll see it is actually going to clean up quite nice and easy. Now, I want my water to be a little bit warmer. But again, I'm just going to grab my scrubby and get in here, and you can see how easy those old bacon bits. And, you know, and I'm sure many of you out there, just like myself, have labored in the past cleaning up that bacon from the bottom of the pan. And you can see I'm not really scrubbing all that hard. I'm just really giving this a quick wipe. And give it a rinse. And again, you can see how well that water is beaded on that pan. So give that a quick rinse again. We're going to throw that over on the stove. And then we're going to move on to our final, what I feel is the most important step in properly seasoning these cast iron pans. Alright, so we're back over at our stove here now. I've given our pans a quick wipe with a cloth, eliminate that last little bit of water that was left into them, and I've put our pans on a high heat. So our goal here now is to get those pans to about 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I have an infrared thermometer. I can very easily check it. I'm going to guess most of you do not have an infrared thermometer at home. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to leave these get hot enough to the point where we start seeing just that little bit of smoke coming off those pans. And at that point we know our pan is actually hot enough to move on to our final and most important step. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to just give it a quick wipe with a little bit of oil. Okay, so I don't know how well you can see it here on the video, but I can see I'm just starting to get a little bit of smoke rising off my pan. Both these, they're nice and hot. So I have this cloth here, and I just keep it right next to my stove at all times. And all I'm going to do is just take a little bit of vegetable oil, a couple little drops in there, a couple little drops in there, and just give that a quick wipe around. Making sure I've got all my surface covered. We'll do the same with this one. And generally I leave the heat on for about another 5-7 seconds. Flick it off at that point, and then just let our pans cool down. And there you go. That's it. So there you have it. It really is not that hard to maintain cast iron. You know what? Generally what I tell people, the easiest way to do it, just like with all of our other dishes when we're cooking, clean it up right away. You know, use the proper tool. In our case, I use that green scrubby. You want to avoid things like Ajax or Comet. You want to make sure you're not using steel wool. You don't want to use anything too abrasive. You know, a plastic brush of some sort works great. I love those plastic scrubbies. There's all kinds of different plastic scrubbies out there. Give it that quick wipe, pop it on that stove, get it hot, give it that little wipe of oil, and you'll have no problem using your cast iron. Now, if you've got a pan that's never been used or it's in really hard shape, what I might suggest is go through that oil stage a few times. Heat it up, oil it, let it cool down. Heat it up, oil it, let it cool down, and do that 3 or 4 times and really build that layer of polymer on there before you go and using it. And you'll have no problem whatsoever. As always, if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to ask you to like and to subscribe it. I'd love it if you share this around with friends. And keep checking back. I've got lots more videos that I'm hoping to do. I hope you have yourself a great day. I hope you're eating some great food, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.